We're live here from Davos, looking out at beautiful mountains, and I've got Paul Taubman, who's the co-president of Morgan Stanley, with me, and Peter Thal-Larsen, also of Breakingviews. So, Paul, let's talk about what everybody's talking about here at Davos. I mean, what are you picking up from talking to clients, talking to people out there, listening to some of the panels? What do you think are the themes that people are drawing from this?
Well, first of all, it's great to be here.
Thanks for coming.
I think the fourth quarter was a really difficult quarter, and people really struggled. There was really no primary calendar. We had a banking crisis, and the question is, are we starting to creep out of it a little bit? And I think the fact is that the ECB has really injected so much liquidity into the system that the way in which people are game playing all of this has changed.
Yeah.
And if you think about the issues, you have the issue of bank capital, which has been on everyone's minds. You have the issue of bank liquidity, and you have the issue of sovereign credit. And I think we've taken one of those three issues off the table with this massive injection of liquidity, and that really has caused people to have a bit more optimism about how we navigate through the coming months and hopefully all of
So how will that manifest? I mean, Morgan Stanley's business advising investors, obviously advising companies on deals, taking them public, underwriting, helping them raise capital. How is that all going to play out? I mean, how do you see 2012 for the investment banking business broadly?
Well, we came into 2012 with a very dry pipeline, because if you just look at 2010 going into 2011, you had this push of activity at the end of 2010. It carried over into early 2011, and then we had a seizing up in the markets, and we really limped into the end of the year. So we're dealing with not a lot of backlog, but a real change in sentiment for all the reasons I just talked about. I think volatility's come way down in the equity market. So if you look at the VIX and where it peaked in October to where it is today, it's dramatically down. And that's one of the key conditions, the key launch conditions to be able to come back to the primary markets. We've always had a shadow pipeline of private equity firms looking to take their companies public.
What do you mean by shadow? So that they have these things, they just haven't kind of
They haven't been filed, so
Right.
they're not officially on file, but it's very clear that they would like to find a monetization event. And private equity has been very aggressive in trying to find windows in the capital markets to take some capital out of their portfolio companies, but they've been stymied for the better part of the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see a tremendous amount of dialogue with our private equity clients about revisiting the public markets. And valuations are still reasonably attractive. Volatility has come out of the market, and I expect that you're going to see a much healthier IPO calendar in the second quarter and beyond, which we're positive about.
What do you see where are the opportunities, first and foremost? When you talked about IPOs, I mean, do you see some of that confidence feeding through into the M&A market? Do you see bond issuance going up? Are there particular sectors that you're sort of seeing more likely to take advantage of the recovering confidence than others? And also, which parts of the world are you focusing on most?
Well, if you break it down, I think in the debt markets, so much of this wall of refinancing in 2012 and 2013 has been eaten into. And I think corporates around the globe have done a wonderful job in dealing with that. 2 or 3 years ago, all everyone wanted to talk about was this tower of debt that hung over balance sheets in 2012, 2013, and the ability to refinance. The reality is most of that refinancing has occurred. I think you'll continue to see opportunistic refinancing. There's been virtually no calendar in the high yield markets for the back half of 2011, and therefore there's tremendous appetite on the part of investors for yield. I don't think you'll see the warming reception for that in Europe, but in the near term I think you'll see a lot of high yield issuance just because there's just a pent-up demand amongst investors, and I think that'll fuel some additional transactions as private equity now looks at access to capital, which is far better now than it was 3 months ago. Cost of capital has come down. M&A is more long tail, and I think, to me, one of the issues is, will we continue to see big-scale horizontal consolidations? One of the problems we have is the Obama administration has been very aggressive in going after from an antitrust perspective.
So they blocked AT&T.
They blocked
T-Mobile.
AT&T. There are
possible healthcare deals they're looking at.
And there's really not enough clarity as to where the Justice Department and the FTC are going to be on some of these deals. So I suspect that
well, John Leibowitz is here at Davos, so you can grab him and try to ask him.
See if he can help us out a little bit.
Well, I'll leave that to you.
So I think when you're thinking about large-scale deals, that has had a chilling effect, and I suspect you won't see as many of those. Now, in the healthcare space, where companies are flush with cash, are looking to create earnings. Not surprising, you see Roche out with a $5.7 billion unsolicited bid. You'll see a lot more of these tuck-in acquisitions from corporates. You'll continue to see sponsor activity, but on a smaller scale. When you think about it geographically, I continue to think that more and more of the M&A volumes are going to be cross-border.
Yeah.
And it's really going to come from a variety of places. Japan has surplus liquidity. They have a maturing economy with no growth, and they have really a 30% off sale because of the strength of the yen. And I think you're going to continue to see Japanese companies much more aggressive in deploying capital in the U.S. and in Europe,
financing,
and using the highly appreciated yen to be able to make attractive acquisitions.
All right. Well, look, that's great. Thank you very much for being on the show, Paul. Thank you, Peter. And I'm sending it back to you, Christia.